Hello and welcome back to Podcast Like a Pro. Today we're going to be talking all about who you are podcasting for. I think aside from the why you're podcasting that we talked about previously, who you're podcasting for is equally as important to get right before you start doing anything else or creating any content. This is really vital in the way that you're going to create content and connect with your audience. So looking at identifying a target audience and that who you're podcasting for, I like these things to think about. And these are in no particular order here, really, but things like how old your typical listener or your ideal listener is, where they live or where they're located, what their interests are, what things they like doing, what sort of perspectives they have. I think someone's perspective and history is a really interesting thing to think about when you get into the last two things, which are their troubles and pains, the challenges they're having in their lives, and their aspirations and dreams. So what things they really want to do. A lot of people listen to podcasts or read books or watch YouTube videos because they want to become a software developer, or they want to lose weight, or they want to travel more, or they want to be more religious, or they want to learn to meditate. Whatever it is, I think a lot of people's wants and needs tie into the last two things, their troubles and pains and their aspirations and dreams. And the rest of the things that we've listed here kind of frame those perspectives and challenges and aspirations. But tying all of these together is really important in identifying kind of exactly who you're looking to podcast to. And if you're able to identify that specifically, it will really help you when you go to create your content and your branding and your messaging for your show. Okay, so let's get really specific on this. Let's dive in deep to each of the points we talked about before. So the way I like to dive in deep with who my ideal listener is create an avatar here, right? So this is listener Laura. Say hi, Laura. Hi, Laura. So Laura is 42 years old. She is a CPA and owns her own business, and she wants to learn how to kind of deal with the bit of midlife crisis she has with her kids growing up, dealing with the challenges of her job, but also balancing that with being a successful mom and having a little bit of time for herself. And so Laura wants to listen to kind of a self-help show that teaches her a little bit of sort of perspective and how to sort of give herself a virtual pat on her back and things like that. So you can just imagine going through and actually talking about who listener Laura is, where she lives, how old she is, what she likes doing. She has 2 kids. She lives in Cleveland, Ohio. She's married. She's a CPA. She likes to run on the weekends and do marathons in the winter. Whatever it is, just get really specific about those things. So then when you go to craft your content strategy, you can start saying things like, well, would Laura like to hear a show about this? Or would Laura like to engage with me in a Facebook group when you think about how to connect with your audience and grow your show? Or does Laura want to hear a show that's 15 minutes long because that's how long her commute is? Or does she want it to be like an hour and a half because she could take her iPhone on her runs with her on the weekend? So just thinking about a specific ideal person and giving them a name and a picture and everything will give you really good kind of sounding board for when you're asking questions to yourself about how to craft your show. Just think about your avatar and what they would like. And if you know your audience really well, the answers will come really easy to you. Okay, so how and where do you connect with your audience? These are just a couple of examples and places that you can start thinking about. So online communities, if you're part of an online community or a forum or something like that, I think it's a great place to go and just look and kind of see what people are saying, see what they're asking for help about or complaining about or offering help to others on. Social media is another great one where you can kind of browse just from the top and kind of lurk. You don't have to be as engaged, but you can really just do a lot of research there about, okay, people are asking for help on this, or they're experiencing trouble with this, or everyone's really loving that or the other. I think social media is a great place to do some market research. Additionally, local groups that you might be involved in, so it's a sports team or it's a PTA group or whatever it is a great way to get in locally and kind of engage with people directly. Similarly, if you work, talking to people at your workplace about if your podcast could be a more business-specific show, what kind of challenges are they facing and what do they think about your topic or your idea around this or that? A great way to kind of use these folks as a sounding board. Similarly, religious organizations are a great way to have kind of a relatively homogenous, consistent group that all kind of has similar thoughts and ideas and beliefs. It can be a cool way to bounce some ideas around. And then lastly, friends and family are always kind of the backdrop when you need to bounce an idea around and connect with people and start getting that initial traction that you really need when you're starting a new show, because the reality is most shows don't get past a dozen or so episodes because they're not getting engagement and they're not seeing that result they want from their podcast. If you can get past that part and leverage any of these existing groups or friends and family or organizations, you'll be successful and you'll have that staying power that you need as a podcast. But if you don't use these kind of built-in networks and families that you have, then the first couple of episodes are really going to be challenging. So keep your ideal listener avatar in mind every time you create podcast content. Every time you think about creating podcast content, think about listener Laura, what she likes, what she doesn't like, and would what you're about to create kind of resonate with her. Okay, here's our lesson assignment for this lesson. So fill out the listener avatar worksheet in the link below this video. This will give you a great exercise of kind of listing out exactly what your listener likes, doesn't like, is interested in, and really wants to get out of a show like yours. And then list the places that you already connect with people like that. So again, go back to that list: church groups, sports organizations, work, social media, online communities. And then think about ways where your podcast can help you connect with those folks better, because that's all it's about. Your podcast is an avenue to connect with your audience, and it's kind of the tip of the iceberg that lets you create that connection in that community, but you have to have a way and a means to connect with those people after the show. We're going to talk a lot more about this off-air engagement concept later, but this is the very beginning of it. Is your audience doesn't just exist in your podcast. It exists other places. Your podcast is a great first way to connect with them, but we want to do something after that and in between episodes as well. Okay, that's finding out who we're podcasting for. Fill out the listener avatar worksheet below, and I'll see you in the next lesson.